Exercise for cerebral palsy is so important, right?
Yeah.
What would you say boxing's done for you in the last few years?
Oh, for me personally, it sounds cheesy, but it's actually changed my life. Like I say, my left side was naturally weaker. I've built up my left side now. My overall confidence in myself as well. Like I get in there and I think actually I can do this. We've been really lucky to get Michael Watson down with us, and he's jumped in a chair with me, and I've shown him what's what, and yeah, we had a little spar, and he's now going to be a WBC adaptive boxing ambassador.
Wow, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
so
huge.
As we've developed the sport and we're looking into things more, we've just had our first ever WBC adaptive boxing wheelchair, specifically made for boxing.
So what's the differences from that to a conventional wheelchair?
It's just boxing really, but either sat down or boxing stood up. Any disability or additional need is let's remove them barriers and get them boxing.
Exercise for cerebral palsy, like, it's so important, right?
Yeah.
It's like the number one thing to make sure that you're firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, every morning I have to like stretch and stuff, and if I don't, then yeah, I just won't move.
What is your morning routine then?
So I'll do just sort of general stretches on my hamstrings and my calves, and then I'll just sort of do some lunges and all holding on, but
Go through the motions.
yeah, that's it. Keep me moving, and if it's cold, I'm a write off.
Mm-hmm.
I just hit the floor and get back up. You know what I mean? But
So obviously you've been boxing for quite a while now. You're into sports all the time, aren't you?
yeah.
Yeah, you're into all the sports. What got you into sports? At what age?
I've been involved in sport for a long time. So probably, I'm 28 now. At the age of 6, probably, I started getting involved in football. Was my first sport. And all my family, so I'm the only one in my family with a disability. And I've just had to get on with it really and fit in. So I thought, you know what, if they're playing football, then I'm going to play football. And there I was.
What position did you play?
I still do play actually, but I play
okay.
as a centre back.
Centre back.
Yeah.
Little Van Dijk.
Yeah. I don't know about that. Hopefully I won't get sent off.
Yeah, he did last weekend, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah. What football team do you support?
I'm a Brighton fan.
Well, you're doing great. This is the best season you've ever had already, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah. Let's hope we can push on and do something in Champions League.
Yeah. Who's your best
Not
Brighton
Champions
player
League,
at the
Europa
moment? Who do you like?
I quite like... It's gonna sound... But Lewis Dunk.
Yeah.
He's been there for a long time, and he's captained, and now he's
He's a veteran.
pushing on. Yeah, he is. He's been there for a long time.
Yeah, I really like Matoma.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, just his footwork and his dribbling on the ball is insane.
Oh, it is. He just lights up, doesn't he? And then when he gets the ball, he's gone.
Yeah, incredible. And have you got like a second team, or is it just Brighton?
No, not really. No. So my family support other teams, but I'm just Brighton.
That's good. Do you see him often live, or?
I go when I can, but I actually used to work for Brighton Football Club.
Oh, wow. So what did you do there?
So I done disability sports coaching
Uh-huh.
as part of Albany Community, and so that's where I started my sort of sport coaching journey, really.
Brilliant. And what type of things were you doing? Was it just like coaching football for all types of disabilities? And
A little bit of a mixture. So I started just as a football player for people with cerebral palsy, and then when I left school, I did an apprenticeship, then went on from the apprenticeship to get a part-time job as like a sports coach. So I'd go in and do PE and school assemblies and disability awareness, and then I got offered a full-time job. And then from there, I sort of, kept pushing on and only recently moved on to work full-time in adaptive boxing.
yeah, so let's get on to that.
Oh,
So adaptive boxing. First of all, what is it? Adaptive boxing.
So adaptive boxing is, in a nutshell, it's boxing for people with disabilities. So we first started WBC adaptive boxing, like I say, as a WBC program, and it's just with the aim to get people with a disability access to boxing training, competition, and break down them barriers for competitive sport.
So you're just giving opportunities to people that might not obviously mingle in a regular boxing class.
Yeah, definitely. So it's, for me, I played other sports and I've always loved boxing. And Scott Welch actually came to one of my wheelchair basketball matches and he said to me, wow, he said afterwards, look at Like, it's amazing what you guys do. And then we were talking, and he said to me, do you want to try boxing yourself? And I said, you're joking, like, I can't box. And then, yeah, so we've gone on, and I was sort of just training, mixing in with the professionals and the amateurs and everything else down Brighton Hove Boxing Gym. And I fight from a wheelchair. So whatever the professionals were doing, I was adapting myself along with Scott, and we were, you know, he was training me and we were working things out. And then from there, you know, it progressed, and he, over the time, he said, you know, could you work for me full time? And at the time I was working for Brighton, but I thought, do you know what an opportunity this could be. You know, going from working for a company to now having my own project, if you like, overseen by Scott and WBC Cares, but it's limitless really. We can just take it wherever we want.
It's incredible, yeah. So when did you actually meet Scott? When did this all start?
My name is Dennis Dominus McCann, professional boxer for Frank Moore and MTK Global. This is Fortress Boxing. A lot more protection. It's a no-brainer around your thumbs, around your knuckles, around your wrist. That's exactly where I have the problems at. They're very compact, so I feel like I'm punching hard with them on as well. And I feel like when you got sparring 14, 16 ounce gloves, the smaller wraps can't really. They're too small for the gloves. That makes sense. So these are a bit bigger, and they're getting the gloves a bit more. They're making them more compact.
So I probably met Scott around 4 or 5 years ago at my basketball game. And yeah, from there he's taken me under his wing and off we go.
And how did you find adapting to boxing? Because obviously I met you, we'll talk about it later, I met you on the level 1 coaching course with Q. But before all of that, how did you actually find putting gloves on and just like hitting the pads and everything else? Was it quite an easy transition because you're already athletic, or was it a little bit weird where obviously you're learning to punch and defend and...
Yeah, so for me it was, I already had the wheelchair movement, if you like, from other sports, but the idea of actually putting the boxing gloves on and then, you know, moving the chair with the boxing gloves, then actually you haven't got any defence while you're moving your chair. So it's then the head movement, it's the, you know, the wheelchair movement and the angles. But it's one of them, like, once you're involved in boxing or whatever we're doing, every little thing can be adapted. So then we were now looking at everything we do within the sport, how can we adapt it for people of all different needs and abilities and disabilities.
So you're writing your own book, really. You've got your own techniques and your own everything. So like, even for example, if someone throws a 1-2, you've got so many ways of maybe moving the wheelchairs, you slip one way, like that. It's a whole new technical aspect that you're on the forefront of, right?
Yeah, so I think that's the exciting bit really, is like myself, Scott and the rest of the team at WBC and WBC Cares it's an open book. So we've got our defensive techniques and our wheelchair techniques and our, you know, punching techniques, which aren't really any different to what you call mainstream stand-up boxing. But actually, it's really key with, if we can defend ourselves, you know, appropriately, then you can't lose a fight. And also the last thing you want to see is people with disabilities in the ring, hell for leather, absolutely smashing each other. So actually, if we can show the defensive skill as well as the punches, and we can block the punches, and, you know, it's great fun as well as a workout, and we're still boxing and we're still going at it, but with the appropriate defence.
Yeah, so from the first time that you tried it in the wheelchair to now, what have you learned on the way in terms of techniques and things? Is there anything, because there might be some people watching that want to take part in this, that will be like, oh, so how can I start? What do I do? You know, is there any certain training methods that you do that might help?
Oh, so what I would say is just, yeah, definitely just give it a go. Like, I'm always with the attitude of, whatever your ability, disability, just come down, have a go, and we can make it work for them. So I actually now we have a whole WBC adaptive program set out of Brighton Hove, but we're hoping to take it, you know, around the world, and other countries are actually now starting to email and say, you know, I want to find out more. So hopefully in the future we can, well, very soon, we can start to travel about and show other people our way of working. But we have, at the moment in Brighton, we have two, if you like, inclusive WBC adaptive boxing classes that I coach myself. So we've got one for people that are standing. So we just box from standing, but obviously different abilities, so we break it down. And then we have a wheelchair specific class as well. So with the, so there again, the boxing techniques are slightly different, but actually it's, whether it's standing, wheelchair, it's still boxing.
Okay, and what's the biggest differences when you're in the wheelchair compared to, because I've padded you when you were standing. Obviously, you've got a lot of power in your shots still. Even you know, some people might say with disability you might be worse. You hit hard. You do hit hard. And if I was sat in a wheelchair opposite you and I was taking clean shots, I wouldn't want to eat too many of them. So what is the difference in being in the wheelchair? Because obviously a lot of the time in boxing, you know, technique, you're rotating your hips and your shoulders and you're going to get a full range of motion, and that's where you get the snap and the power. Would you say it's a little bit different in the wheelchair, or what is it for you?
For me, like I say, as we're training, and I train now every day, a little bit of boxing and also strength stuff to build myself up. But I think when we're training and when we're fighting, as a standing boxer, sometimes you generate your power from your feet and the twist of your hips and your knees and whatever else. But actually, once you're strapped into the wheelchair, all your power comes from your shoulders, your rotation and your core. So if you can build the foundation, then yeah, everything comes from there.
Okay, so it's all upper body, it's all from the core out. Is there any good exercises that you do to be faster in the wheelchair, or to be more powerful with the upper body?
As well as the sort of weight training stuff, I then do a lot of rotational work with the med balls and the poles, just to get my hips and sort of shoulders moving.
Okay.
And then yeah, just develop really as
And what weight work?
So I have lots of different. I'm now actually lucky enough to be on sort of a program with a personal trainer, and he actually works with the professionals in our gym as well.
Oh, brilliant. What's his name?
It's Lou, Lou Clark. Yeah, so he's got me on a program as well, sort of with Scott, and yeah, so every day I work a different muscle group as well as the boxing in my upper body, and we're building nicely.
Brilliant. Have you had many fights in the wheelchair adaptive?
So at the moment I've had 4 fights, and like I say, as we're going on, there's plenty of opportunity to, you know, get other fights on the cards, and we've got a few coming up, hopefully, so that should be good. And it's nice to be down the gym in that environment, and actually nobody cares what we're doing. So whether we're in the wheelchair, whether we're standing, whether we're amateur, professional, female, everyone at Brighton Hove is there for the same reason. And sometimes it's nice because I'll be training, the professionals will be training, and then after our sessions we'll come together, have a chat, and I've done plenty of rounds with some of the professionals in the chairs, and it's nice for them to get the feeling of, you know, being in the chair and working as well.
Yeah, that's so cool. So have you done like quite a bit of sparring with all of them then as well?
Yeah, so we're lucky enough at the moment to have 2 professionals full-time at Brighton Hove.
Who are they?
So it's Tiernan Bradley and Tommy Welch. So Scott Welch's son, Tommy, yeah, he trains full-time with us, and we're always sort of around the gym together and just part of the family, really.
Brilliant. And has Scott taught you everything you know in terms of boxing?
Yeah, exactly that. So we work really well as a team, you know. So now WBC Adaptive is like, if you like, I lead, so I'm WBC Adaptive Program Lead, and I lead that program. But Scott is teaching me and coaching me the boxing very well, and then I'm working with him for the disability side, and so together we come together, and it's just, yeah, it's lethal. Who knows where we can take this sport, really.
That's amazing. And where do you see it all going in the next 5 to 10 years?
At the moment, it's growing so fast. So I wouldn't like to say, I wouldn't like to put a cap on where we can take it, but as we build the sport and set the rules and develop and more people get involved, who knows where we can take it. Like it's endless really. We can just grow and develop as a whole sport and make it just as mainstream, if you like, as stand-up boxing.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure there'll be so many people who would love to see it too.
Oh,
And there's so many people out there, like wheelchair basketball exploded. I remember I can't remember who it was. There was a famous guy on the telly when I was a kid, and he was in a wheelchair. He was one of like a kids presenter, but he was really good at basketball. And I remember, do you know who he is?
yeah, so is that Adi Adepatan?
I think so, yeah.
So I actually play wheelchair basketball
Yeah.
in the National League, and yeah, I've played against Adi a few times.
Wow, yeah. So I'm pretty sure he was one of the big reasons how it blew up, right? Years ago.
So, do you know what? I think it was the Paralympics. So when the Paralympics was, I'd say 2012 was the turning point for me anyway. Like as soon as we had the 2012 Paralympics in London, from then it took off. Accessibility got better, and it's still got a fair way to go, but we're really getting there, and it's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. And what are the rules in the actual with the wheelchair boxing? Are there any certain rules that are different? Like, is there maybe you're not allowed to bash into them, or is there any big no-goes? Or
So at the moment, it's very similar to stand-up boxing. A big difference is we don't have southpaw orthodox. So when we come together in the wheelchairs, there is sort of crashing of the chairs, and depending on what angle you come at to your opponent, you might jab with your left, or if they come at the other side, you might jab with your right. So if you can be a switch hitter, that's a big bonus in wheelchair boxing.
okay.
Another one we've got is like when the referee might break the fight. So there's what you call an axle pin in the middle of the wheel on the wheelchair, and if you were to get any angle is fine, but if you were to go with the front of your chair past the axle pin on your opponent, the referee would break it, just so
Okay.
that we don't catch anybody on the back of the head.
Oh, that's smart. Okay. Yeah. So I'm guessing, obviously, so the axe pin, is it like central to the wheelchair, or?
Yeah, so the wheels are angled out slightly, so
Yeah.
we can get, we're more mobile and agile and balanced, but also it's like the release pin in the middle of the wheel. So it's almost the middle of the wheelchair. So then we can't get any illegal blows.
And body shots, is it quite easy to land body shots on people, or does it leave you quite open to take them to the head?
It depends really. So like we're tucked up here, and obviously we're sat down. So when our arms are here, we can defend with our body. But then like you say, it leaves your head open. So you need to be careful. And we've got our sort of defensive technique of stopping shots here. So if we can stop them here,
So lots of hand defenses.
that's it. Loads of hand defenses, and we can stop the hooks from here. And actually, if we can stop it here, then it's not getting through to our head.
Yeah.
So then we're being safer, and as safe as we can be, really.
So it's the exact same, like you said, as stand-up boxing. Do you remember Q had the wedge block, the inside
That's
parry, the
it,
outside
yeah,
parry?
yeah.
So it's exactly the same, but you probably used it 10 times more.
Yes. So the wedge block is a big one. So when a hook comes in, we wedge it here, and then we might counter with a straight shot. And you got the hand defenses for the straights, and other than that, you got the parries for the body shots. But yeah, I mean, it's
Brilliant.
lovely.
And do you find it hard, maybe sometimes if there's different disabilities, but someone might be maybe a little bit worse off in terms of the competition? Like, is it hard to match people sometimes, or do you find it okay in terms of in matchmaking? Because I can imagine it could be quite easy to put someone that's got a disability with someone the same, but they could be completely different.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's something we've been getting asked a lot is, how can we match people? And like I say, at the moment, we've been going a fairly long time, but we're now getting to the stage where we're starting to put competitions on, and we're starting to do like a classification system. I don't know if you know much about classification.
I don't know.
So within disability sport, every sport has like its own classification system, which means, you might get classified a certain category, and then that category fights against that category or plays against that category. So then the disability level is very similar. So they get
Okay.
almost put into classification.
So you've got an
categories.
even even playing field.
Yeah,
the whole
that's
way
it.
through.
So we're now at the stage where we're going to develop a wheelchair boxing or adaptive boxing classification system. So then when we come to competition, we can say, oh, you're going to fight in this category, this category. But then we've got the dilemma of, well, not dilemma, it's a nice thing to have, but we got like classification categories, as well as we'll have weight categories as well. So we'll have the weights within the classification.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we'll have to think about weigh-ins and all sorts.
Do you think the boundaries of the weight might be a bit more broad just because of there's not as many participants happening? Obviously, if you had 100 people enter in the UK, it would be maybe quite hard to match in each weight category. So instead of it being 67 kilos or 71 like in the amateurs, you might do 65 to 74 or something. So would that be on the cards?
It'll definitely be, to start with, it'll be done on disability and, you know, movement in the chair and core work. And then we'll have, as we grow the sport, it will then, more people will come in, so we'll be able to
add more
have
rules and
matchups.
regulate it even more.
Definitely, yeah.
That's brilliant. And what's your diet like then with all this training?
So I try the best I can for, you know, to stick to a very good diet, but, you know, with all my different sports as well and all my boxing, sometimes it can slip a little bit, but I try to, stick to a strict diet plan the best I can. And that's where Scott and the rest of my team are very good, because as well as all the boxing stuff and the strength stuff, they give me sort of diet advice as well. And sort of, if you like, living and being around the pros all the time is just, it's unbelievable for me, you know, being a boxing fan, and I can mix in with them, and now we're all one family, and yeah, it's nice.
It must be amazing to just live the life of a fighter all the time and be around such inspirational people, right?
Oh, it's brilliant. And like for me now, we're starting adaptive boxing, or we've started adaptive boxing. So when I'm not training or coaching or doing boxing related stuff, I'm out in schools doing assemblies and doing, you know, PE lessons and taster sessions to really try and push the sport out there, really, and do community events to just see where we can take the sport.
Yeah, brilliant. And with the sport, I know you said you don't want to put any cap on it, but could you see it being in the Paralympics?
Do you know, eventually I think we could. Like, there's nothing to say it can't, and at the moment it hasn't been done. So let's see where we can take it. You know, it's endless.
And so you've actually had quite a few celebrities, quite a few big names obviously reach out, because you're doing such a great job with this, and what you're doing is going to be in the history books for, you know, the kids in the next generation. What are the meetings that you've had with people? Can you talk about a few? I know a few off air that we've spoken about, and you've been very blessed. But
of course, so yeah, like I say, I'm lucky to be in the job that I'm doing. It's a dream, you know, and having the people around me that I've got. So Scott's got some unbelievable connections, and we're lucky enough to, at some of Tommy's fights, meet a few incredible people, and, you know, and we've been really lucky to get Michael Watson down with us, and he's now, you know, he's jumped in a chair with me, and I've shown him what's what, and yeah, we had a little spar, and he's now going to be a WBC adaptive boxing ambassador.
Wow, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's
so he's
huge.
He's been down a few times and sort of working with WBC Cares, which is the WBC charity that I work for. And just last week he agreed to be an official ambassador for the adaptive boxing program. So
that is huge.
It's massive, and I can't really believe that a guy like that. So I've really got to know him well, and a guy like that is in my presence. I couldn't believe it. It was an
absolute
honor, really.
Legend of the sport, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's done so much.
So what's it like being friends with Michael Watson now?
Yeah.
Is it weird?
Yeah, do you know what? It's so weird. Like, I know what he's done, and just being around him is incredible. And just last week, he pops down to see us regularly, and we were I had a few different community sessions going on throughout the day. So Michael he sat around, and we were chatting and having a laugh, and he was mixing in, and then he said to me, oh, couldn't get in a chair. I said, look, of course you can get in a chair. So I was honoured to have a little move about with Michael, and I couldn't believe it. And all day he was saying to me, oh, I'm going to catch you on the chin, I'm going to catch you on the chin.
Did he?
I said, all right, and do you know what? He did. So after that, I said to him, listen, Mike, I'm never going to wash my chin again. That was a shot that, yeah, it's an incredible shot, and I'm honoured to take it, really.
Oh, brilliant. Was it left hand, right hand?
Yeah, so it was his right hand,
Yeah.
straight down the pipe, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. How many rounds did you have with him? Was it?
So we had about 4 or 5 rounds.
That's a lot.
Yeah, you know, it's really good. Yeah, so it's really good. With the adaptive boxing, we're at the moment we're looking at sort of 3 2-minute rounds for a bout, and yeah, we're literally setting the rules and regulations. So now with Michael on board, he can input to that as well, which is
Amazing.
really good.
So for anyone that's listening that maybe knows someone that would want to take part, or if this is interesting, how do they go about being a part of this, or to compete or to train?
Yeah, so you can get involved in the program, whether you want to, you know, just come for fun and fitness, whether you want to train, whether you want to compete. But what I would say is if you email, you know, our email address at WBC Adaptive, then I'll get in contact with you and we can arrange from there about getting you down our gym to try it out, and yeah, then hopefully get involved and take it as far as you want to take it.
Great. I'll put that in the description as well.
Okay, brilliant.
The email for anyone that wants to reach out.
Yeah, please do.
And oh, you got a dragonfly in your head, man.
Oh,
You got-
actually?
yeah. look.
There it's gone.
Yeah, so I'll put the link there. And then in terms of the like entry requirements or anything, I know you're based in Brighton. Do you know, is there any other centres around the country that are trying to start up? Are you in talks with anyone else that's trying to do the same?
Yeah, so at the moment we're in talks with a few different gyms sort of around the country, but in terms of WBC Adaptive as an organisation, if you like, we're based down in Brighton, but eventually we're going to branch out, and as the sport grows, we're going to have different gyms. So then if people are around the country or potentially around the world, they can then go to, train in other gyms under our banner.
Brilliant, yeah, because I do know that there's a lot of boxing gyms that do cater for people, you know, everywhere anyway. So even if you was in a boxing gym, if you was at a box gym and you wanted to be a part of it, would there maybe be at some point like coaching lessons you could offer to the coaches there so they understand about the adaptive needs that they can maybe approach with these people?
Yeah, definitely. So like what I would say is a big part, I use myself as an example, when I go to a gym, I thought originally, oh, having a disability, they're going to look at you, they're going to judge you. But actually going down, just getting involved in the boxing gym, there's a certain feel to a boxing gym where actually nobody cares, everyone's there to get on with it. And once you go in there and once you overcome that barrier, it's a big step. So yeah, I would say just like we're at the stage where we're hoping to go out very soon and sort of, if you like, help out and educate other coaches with our adaptive program, and just say, you know, if someone with a disability does come in, don't worry, these are certain things you could do, these are certain things you can think about to then cater for anybody with a disability and see where we can take the sport and lead the way.
Raising all the awareness is a big part right now, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Just
definitely.
so it becomes obviously mainstream. Again, fast forward 5 years from now, it will just be another form of coaching, regular, you know, everything that you're pioneering right now will be around the world, hopefully.
Well, let's hope so. So it's really nice to see like the coaching techniques that we're coming up with for adaptive boxing, or that we've come up with for adaptive boxing. We try with the amateurs, and even sometimes with the pros, they try a technique and it's like, wow, it's working, you know. So it's just boxing really, but either sat down or boxing stood up. Any disability or additional need is, let's remove them barriers and get them boxing.
That's what I love about sport in general, though. I know boxing's great, like you said. You have those thoughts of going in, and when you're in there, you've got people from all walks of life all mingling together, and everyone's just having a session. Everyone's friends. There's no real discrimination whatsoever in a boxing gym I've ever seen. You know, people from all walks of life, policemen with criminals, and whatever that saying is. You know, you've got everyone there together, and everyone's just there to better themselves and for the love of the sport. So I think that and football, especially, like you said earlier with Brighton, it is the best way, especially if someone feels maybe out of place with a disability. It's the best place for them to just sort of push out their comfort zone and find their confidence in themselves. What would you say boxing's done for you in the last few years?
Oh, for me personally, it sounds cheesy, but like with the team, it's actually changed my life, in all honesty, because when I came into the gym, like I say, my left side, I always looked after myself, but my left side was naturally weaker. So through boxing and the strength stuff and the whatever else, I've built up my left side now to, be just as strong as it can be. And, you know, you may not be able to tell a difference soon, hopefully. So we're going to keep building, and just my overall confidence in myself as well. Like, I get in there and I think, actually, I can do this. And then when I'm mixing with the pros, the amateurs and everyone, and, you know, they're boxing standing up, I'm boxing from a wheelchair. And when they get in a chair with me and, you know, they can't move the chair or they can't throw the shots that I can throw, I think, wow, like, you know, they're struggling. So it's nice to be on that level playing field where if you can't do something, you can adapt it to then, you know, make sure everyone's mixing in.
Amazing.
So in other countries, we've seen that they do some wheelchair boxing, and the wheelchairs are strapped down, so they don't move. They have someone holding onto the back of them, and they're throwing punches. But actually, we thought if you've got long arms and if you can't move out the way of it, then it could be fairly dangerous. You know, they're taking the shots, they're covering up. So that's why we've developed the hand-to-hand defences. And actually, we're boxing. We've got to move the chair. We've got to move our head. So then if we are, you know, catching shots and we want to get out of a bit of trouble, we can move our wheelchair out the way ourselves and go back in and find angles. And
there could probably be a way, if you wanted a breather, if you've just unloaded punches for 30 seconds, you could quickly, you know, wheel out and move away and just be on, you know what I mean? Be on your bike, they say, right?
Yeah, that's it. So we're working on things all the time in the gym. And just the other day, actually, I got a new boxing wheelchair specifically for boxing. And I was practicing, you know, all these different moves and, you know, wheeling backwards. And like you say, when you've unloaded punches, you don't just punch for, 2 minutes, if you like, of every round. So we unload a few punches, we move back, we go backwards, we change angles, and at that time we get our breather. So I was working on, actually, when I'm throwing the punches, can I move back? Then can I cut my angle, tip it on one wheel, throw a shot, you know, be fancy in there? Because what we're hoping is it's not just going to be scored on punches thrown and, you know, punches landed. It will be actually a bit of chair work, bit of ring control, as all in together, as well as the defences. So it'll be an overall sport so that people aren't just getting, you know, beaten up for the whole fight. It's actually done on ringmanship as well as the punches and the defences and an overall package.
100%. I've seen some of the wheelchair fights when they are strapped in, and it is brutal.
Yeah.
When you can't move and it's just toe to toe, who's got more stamina and who's got a better chin. It is tough, you know. You take a lot more damage than people that are doing in conventional boxing sometimes. So like you're saying, to have the extra skills and to showcase all the other bits and to show it as more of a sport, that's more of a range of things, then 100%. That sounds so much better, and you don't want to take so much damage. It's meant to be a good fun sport, you know. At the end of the day, I know you're going to be hit and you got to get over getting punched, but there's a limit of damage that you want to take. You know, like look at Floyd Mayweather, right? You know, everyone knows him as running away the whole time, but that's what you want to be like. You want to finish your career in boxing not too worse off, you know.
Definitely, and that's where all the ring work and the wheelchair work, it all comes into play, because actually if we can add some flair to it, and, you know, as well as the boxing skill and the defence skill, people are going to want to watch it more. Like I say, I've had sort of 4 or 5 fights now, and each fight we've added more to it. And for the first, I'd say, you know, on my debut, first ever fight, I thought, cool, this is nerve-wracking. What's it going to be like? As you do. I got in there, and for the first 30 seconds, it was silent. They were thinking, what is happening here? Like, people in wheelchairs, gonna box each other I don't know about this, you know, and it was dead silent. And after they heard the first few crashes of the chairs, they saw the first few punches being thrown and the blocks in there. We were having a good time, and I bet they thought, wow, this is it. And then they started to cheer and really get behind us, and yeah, it just really, it grows, and it's a great atmosphere, really.
So your first fight, let's just go back a bit, like the nerves for the fight. Minutes before, when you're in the changing room, what was it like? Was the adrenaline through the roof? What was your mindset like?
So I was thinking, listen, here I am. I've been training to be honest, I've been training for a few months before my first bout. And I was thinking that I was in this, you know, it was an amateur show, and we were on the show, and I was thinking, I've seen this on TV. I'm feeling what they might be potentially feeling, you know. I'm about to go out there and have a fight, and there's going to be people watching me. What happens if I, you know, fall up the ring entrance? What happens if I, you know,
all of the nerves,
yeah,
all of the what
that's
ifs,
it.
yeah.
What if this, what if that? And then I tell you what, as soon as that bell went, I was thinking, right, here we are, let's box. And then it's in the middle of the round, I thought, yeah, this is cool. From there, my nerves were settled, and
Brilliant.
we went at it. And afterwards, I thought, what a feeling this is, you know. And I wanted to do it again and again and again. And it's.
So after the first fight, when you were more experienced, was the second fight, were you a bit more composed? Did you know what was going to happen? Did you feel straight away a lot more relaxed going into it, maybe?
Yeah, I think I did. So a big part of the first one was, even from being in the changing room to going out to then, you know, when your music comes on, what do you do? So it's, yeah, like I say, that was out the way.
Mm-hmm.
When the second fight come, I thought, oh, I've been, you know, I know what's going on now, so I can just focus on the fight. And then, yeah, I was a lot more relaxed, because I thought, oh, I've been here, I've done this. And like I say, each fight I've progressed on, and my skills got better, as well as my, you know, ability level and all sorts. So we're growing.
Did you feel like you boxed a lot better when you was a lot more calm in there? Obviously,
Yes.
every first bouter that you ever see in the amateurs, all systems go. It's windmill. You're tired. Come the second, third round, you've got nothing left. You know, you can't help it. You're in that adrenaline fight or flight. Did you find that within already the second fight, the technique was coming and you'd grown a lot more as a fighter?
Definitely. So like when I was in there, they always say, you know, under the lights it's slightly different, and that's so true. Like, I was really tense, and I was thinking, oh, here we go, every shot's got to be powerful, everyone's watching, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. In the second fight, when I was relaxed, it was all flowing much better, my movement was better, my punches were harder. It was much more relaxing, and it was nice to develop.
Brilliant. And let's talk about the wheelchairs. So you've got certain wheelchairs designed for this now, right?
Yeah, so originally when we first started the sport, we were using what you call club sports, which are multi-use wheelchairs that they're not made to measure, they're just standard chairs, and we were standard chairs for sport. But actually now, as we've developed the sport and we're looking into things more, we've just had our first ever WBC adaptive boxing wheelchair, specifically made for boxing.
Wow.
And yeah, it's made to measure, it's custom fit to myself. So
what's the differences from that to a conventional wheelchair?
So the wheels are angled slightly with a little bit of a camber to give us slightly more, you know, balance in the wheelchair. We've got a back wheel, so we're able to lean back to dodge a shot, and we won't fall back. As well as we've got a groin guard fitted, so if we're, you know, going to parry a shot down, it won't catch us, and yeah, we're all protected.
Was that learnt the hard way then, without the groin guards?
Yeah, so a few times we'd be training, and we'd knock a shot, and it would be very close, and it might be slightly painful. So we thought, you know, if we can get a groin guard built into the wheelchair, then we're gonna, you know, be much better off. And as we go, we're gonna hopefully pilot these wheelchairs and give them out, you know, use them as WBC adaptive fight chairs now going forward. So
Brilliant.
RGK have made the wheelchairs, and hopefully they're going to partner with us, or they are going to partner with us to, in the future, as our sport grows, they can be the fight chair, you know.
Yeah, well, I can imagine later down the line, your certain competition chair is going to have a big say in how you do in a fight. When it gets competitive and you have real big fights come up, your wheelchair could be a real big part to whether or not you're going to be good or not. You know, like you said earlier with the wheel work, when you're going around the ring and stuff, like if you got a wheelchair that's clunky and heavy and whatever else, then you're going to really struggle, aren't you?
Oh, definitely. So my fight chair that I've just got recently, I can pick it up with my little finger. You know,
Wow.
it's so light, and because it's made to fit my body, and eventually other people will have fight chairs made to fit their body, it will become my legs, if you like. So when I'm moving, it's one of me. So if I can move that chair smoothly, then it just helps me get to the angles I need. It helps me cut the ring off, and then just makes my boxing so much easier.
Yeah, brilliant. And cutting the angles, is that huge in wheelchair boxing as well then? Obviously trying to corner them and be a bit more aggressive. Is it exactly the same as conventional boxing as I can imagine in my head?
Yeah, so if you like, on the front of the bumper, we've got the front side, and like I said to you earlier, we've got then the two sides of the angle. So if we come to this side here, we jab with our right hand, whereas if our opponent's on this side, we jab with our left. And you can actually use the wheelchair in your movement to swoop out and make contact with the chair to knock them, knock the front of the chair.
Would that be legal?
Often.
Is it okay to knock them whilst punching them as well?
Yeah, so as long as it's, the front of the chair and it's not too much, then it will all be legal. So we can create angles and we can actually use our wheelchair movement to block the ring, and yeah.
Brilliant. I can imagine two heavyweights just bashing into each other and going ham. It's gonna be huge,
Oh,
isn't
it's
it?
going to be massive, yeah. And I'm looking forward to seeing where we can take it, to be honest, and having more fights and developing myself and just, developing the sport.
And would you say for anyone that wants to do it, they need to start training both arms as hard as possible?
Yeah, I would say, train a little bit of everything, and also, like, don't worry about not having the experience, even the experience in a chair, or the sport experience. If you want to have a go, we've got lots of different levels and abilities. Like I said before, we've got the classes, so I'm lucky enough to train every day. But actually, some of the people that come into our classes are there for fun and fitness, and we've worked with them to then build them up. And we've actually had a few showcases on some of our shows, our amateur shows, of two of our people from our classes going against each other and just having a great time and showing the defence work as well as the punching and the fitness, really.
Amazing. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Is there anything else you want to say? Is there anyone you want to thank whilst you're on the podcast? Or
For me, I'd just like to say, thank you to Scott, first of all. So Scott Welch, he first got in touch with me and he's taken me under his wing, and together we're really pushing on to develop the sport, as well as obviously Brighton Hove Boxing Gym for, hosting and letting us train and do whatever we do. And then WBC Cares UK is the charity for the whole of WBC in the UK. So as well as us all together, we are pushing on.
Brilliant. Well, Kieran, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and I'll catch up with you soon, all right, mate?
Thank you very much, Ash. See you soon.